Hello everyone and welcome to Games, Comics and Crafts.
In this series of videos, I'll be looking at the Judge Dredd case files in order and picking out the most prominent and important stories, as well as noting some artists and writers that actually appear in these books. Okay, volume 21 of the case files. Yeah, this one, it- there's some bits in it that are important in the whole Dredd story, but it's not great. So some of it is my own personal problems with it. Um, so accidental culprit. We start up here, which is a guy. Yeah, it's all about like a chain of events. Time Machine's pretty interesting. About people traveling from 1999 to Mega City 1 and causing basically a big traffic build up. Dredd gets into the time machine, goes back, and then kind of makes his way through. Conspiracy of Silence artwork, and this is beautiful. And again, there's there's just something about 90s 2000 AD I didn't like. I didn't like the logo. I didn't like this starts the day stuff. It just reminded I don't know. There's just stuff I didn't like about it. The layouts. It really, I can see it's 90s looking even back now. Um, so basically, it's a meeting of judges that are trying to get Dredd on board to oust the chief judge, and he kind of mentions, I've kind of already done my bit, and he said, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to tell you that," and that's obviously falsifying the evidence that the machismo units do not work, or did work, but he told them they didn't. Um, and he gets a bit, he finds this given this address and told to kind of have a look around. So off he goes. He finds a storage unit, and apparently it's not a storage unit of any interest whatsoever. But of course, he doesn't take their word for it. And it turns out they are building Mark 2.4s or Mark 3s or whatever they are of the Machismo units, which look pretty damn cool. Um, and they go a bit nutty because the judges basically turn on Dredd and kind of trying to use the units against him. So yeah, we're still in this Machismo era thing. Again, I honestly didn't realize there was so much of it in this era. I thought it was literally like that. I remember that one story in volume 18, and I don't really remember anything after that. So that's interesting. Rad Blood is about a group of people stuck in a cursed earth. Ron Smith artwork again, um, which is all right. Uh, yeah, moving violation is another coincidental thing where we see loads of stuff kind of one after the other. Yeah, TV Babies again. We've got a Mr. Blobby parody in it. It's like okay, don't know. 2080 was 70s 2000 AD in 70s in the way it used to represent Mega City 1 as being like effectively, Thatcher's Britain in the future, where unemployment is rife and all this kind of stuff. That was always the kind of the gritty, grimy kind of stuff to it. I don't know, there's something about the 90s one that just doesn't. It's too much references. And again, like I said before in the previous volume, I, I didn't really care for the references. I was metal. If they put Metallica references in it all while, but you have references to the Word and the Teletubbies and the Spice Girls. Yeah, not for me. Um, Guide to Mega City 1 is basically a breakdown of some of the slang they use in context with the thing. Casualties of War. Now, this took up an entire issue of 2000 AD, I believe, at the time. And Higgins artwork, so it's very, very cool. This is a Rogue Trooper crossover. But not the Rogue Trooper that I wanted it to be, because by now we already killed Rogue off. Or we'd had a reboot anyway. We'd had the Friday reboot, and this is Friday. So I never really read the Friday stuff because Friday just seemed to be like it's not the real Rogue Trooper, or it's a reboot, so I won't bother. And eventually, obviously, they tied it together. But this takes quite a lot of the issue. I don't know if that's one issue or two. I swear to God, is the entire issue, but it seems to here there's different artwork, so I don't know. Um, so they get he explains what's going on. Basically, there is a traitor in the ship. The ship he's on is in New Earth era, and they have from supplies. They use a time jump to go back. They end up in Mega City 1. Mega City 1 basically say, right, we'll allow you to re-equip your stuff, but we want access to your time travel and your rest of your ship technology. And it turns out that there's a traitor on the ship, and Dredd and Friday basically managed to suss out who it is. Um, Judge Death, the true story. That's how that explains how they got the warp technology and how they kind of started doing all their thing, which obviously with Dead World now it's even more detailed than this. And it goes back in time to Brighton. It's just all right. It's a kind of a kind of a comedy thing. Um, Part Exchange, I don't even remember. So I obviously didn't much of an impact. Artwork's nice, eh? And then we've got Wildlands. Now this takes up the bulk of the thing. This is a thing that ran through Mega Drive, Mega Site. God, okay, get me words right. The magazine and 2000 AD. So we go back and forth. We go back and forth. And it started off in the magazine, and I don't think I was getting magazine at this time. So obviously I didn't read half of this, and I probably just skipped most of the Dread stuff because it was like part 7 and then part 9 and part 2, and it's like, okay, this is the ousting of Magruder. So they go to Magruder to basically say, well, you need to resign, and she isn't having any of it. Dredd is then caught basically in the talking about the Machismo units and the fiasco going on there. So they arrest him, and they're going to take him to Titan. But en route to Titan, they're going to take him to this other planet. They're going to take Justice 4 out with a Machismo unit. They're going to take him to Titan en route, and it's like, well, that's a bit weird. But there is a Magruder who's trying to get him on side basically during this time, so she's just basically using her time to do so. And they want to sell these Machismo units to this other planet because they need the resources to build more because they've started running out of money. So yeah, we get a thing here between the artists, and I've gone completely blank of what's going on here. So best thing about this is we've got okay, okay, I'm going completely blank. Esquerra, there we go. So the best thing we've got here is we go back and forth between magazine and 2000 AD, and reading it as a whole, it's not too bad. And there's a couple of scenes that are repeated here. We've got Castillo, who's was retired from being a street judge because she wasn't particularly confident, and she's Magruder's kind of secretary. And there's a conspiracy going on. The ship crashes, and they basically have to make their way after they go on the there's some aliens on here as well that Magruder basically kind of like wants to teach them a lesson. So shoots this alien and then they causes a load of havoc and it's all unlucky. And then eventually the ship they were going on crashes. Now the most interesting part of this one really is the way the artwork is done, because especially the Ezquerra stuff, there's a lot of digital artwork in this. And this is probably some of the earliest stuff I've seen, but it's mostly just textures. So we've got these creatures here. We've kind of got this kind of texture on them. And it's kind of laid over the top of stuff. And this is obviously late 90s kind of stuff. And later on, we also see some like real life rock formations and mountains put in the background, all this kind of stuff. But we get some really weird, like this is kind of strange. Where we could just basically chuck a pattern on a bit of sound effects for no good reason. You know, it looks probably better white rather than black rather than this. But it's just they just colouring everything. So it's a little bit muddy because there's so much stuff, so much colour going on. But yeah, once we get the crash, the 2000 AD stuff is concentrates on Dread, and the magazine stuff, I believe it's that way around, concentrates on Castillo, and we get the Gary Hairsign artwork, which is pretty nice as well. And Dread's doing his thing and kind of tracking down all the people and kind of making sure Magruder's not dead, whereas Castillo kind of gets separated and she goes off, and it kind of reminds me of Helltrackers because it's like a little thing where like, you know, this person's died, this person's died, this person's died. So eventually they got these hallucinations, and they see this hallucination coming down, and they get destroyed by these firestorms that kind of go on, and yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but eventually they kind of make their way back to civilization, and I think the Castillo stuff was pretty decent. Um, and Magruder's still there, and it turns out that the Machismo unit again has gone dodgy. Now they say it's because it was trying to protect the city by killing Magruder. They thought it was the best way to do it. Again, that's weird kind of colouring on these You probably can't see it in the camera. Weird colour on these sound effects. No need for it. They say it was to try to kill Magruder to save the city, but obviously we've got this kind of thing where they've got these bad luck creatures effectively, and Castillo's saved by the creature as well. And at the end of it, Magruder basically says, "Right, Dredd, yeah, you're right. I'm over it." So she starts retiring. She's going to go on this kind of book signing tour. She reinstates the council, and there's a couple of council people that basically try and decide who's going to be the next chief judge. Castillo goes back on the beat as a street cop, and we see her kind of first version of going back on the street. Um, and it's kind of just a basic bog standard kind of story where they fight some crims, but there's nothing massive to it. I actually thought she was going to die. I thought it was going to be like she survived all that, and then they're going to kill her off literally on a first patrol back in Mega City 1. But she doesn't. She stays there, and I'm not too sure what happens to her after this, because we see a lot of these kind of characters that seem to make mostly to take place of Anderson, because by now Anderson's doing her own thing. And Karim, I think's in Anderson, and Hershey's obviously doing her own thing. Decker's died now, which I think was Decker's a wasted. Decker, I think, could have been a really cool character. But so I'm not too sure how far Castillo's going to go, but she's definitely around for a little bit longer. So there you go. But yeah, all in all, not great. It's kind of important because the simple fact of Magruder's gone and the Council of Five are there to re-elect a new judge, chief judge. But apart from that, it kind of, just trots along. The Rogue Trooper crossover is quite cool because it's nice to see, those kind of interacting. Not quite as influential as the Constant Strontium Dog crossovers we get. But all in all, not too bad. But yeah, we'll see what issue, what volume 22 comes like, because I don't believe I've seen anything majorly unveiled like to volume 24, 25, 26. Maybe the 23, I think's got the Mean Machine, Judge Dredd team up thing in it. Okay, yeah, that was alright, I think. But again, yeah, is Death going? I don't know. Anyway, we'll wait till we get to that, and we'll decide if it's any good or not. But yeah, this is we're kind of in that middling ground, kind of 6 out of 10 era of stuff. I don't know. There's just something about 90s 2000 AD that just wasn't as gripping. I think the stuff nowadays is much better. The recent stories uh that involved the Penitent Man, that's excellent. And stuff with the sector being under democracy and kind of seeing how that goes, they were really good, and that's some really nice storytelling. These just we're not quite getting back to the old crime of the week, shoot bang bang, I am the law kind of thing. So Dredd's a little bit more nuanced than he is with back then, but yeah, they're okay. Anyway, that's pretty much enough rambling for now. So thanks for listening, and hopefully I will see you on another video very soon. Bye bye.